Welcome back, my green lover community. It is me, Hilton Carter, just talking plants. Today I want to talk about my favorite and what I'm starting to think is your favorite too. It is the fiddle leaf fig. Right about now you can see trees is one of the 4 fiddle leaf figs I have. Many of you always ask, how do you keep them alive? So today I'm going to give you my top 6 tips on how to keep the fiddle leaf fig alive and thriving in your homes. So let's start with tip number 1. Obviously, you need to have the right environment for fiddle leaf fig. It is a tropical plant that loves to have bright, indirect light. Now, what is bright, indirect light, you might ask? So let's say you are looking up at the sky, out of your window, but you can't see the sun, but all you can see is that sky. That is bright, indirect light. So placing your plant near a window that's not really getting touched by the sun, but getting touched by nothing but that gorgeous daylight, that's bright, indirect light, and that's what your fiddle leaf fig craves. Now I know a lot of you might think, well, I have sun blasting into my window. That's bright, but that's not indirect light. But don't they need sunlight, bright sunlight? Yes, they can take bright AM Eastern sunlight, but they do not like bright, direct Western sunlight. That hot heat will torch your foliage, creating what looks like burns in the leaves. Brown spots, but not just the normal brown spots, those dark brown. So that leaf, the actual insides of that tissue is getting scorched by the heat of the sun. So if you have your fiddle leaf fig in a Western facing window, you might want to move it to an Eastern facing window. But some of you might say, hey, all I have are Western facing windows. All I get is afternoon light. Well, to you I say, maybe you place the fiddle leaf fig further back in that room where it doesn't get touched by that hot sun, or maybe the fiddle leaf fig isn't for you. Step 2, water. But the fiddle leaf fig is like other tropical plants, really only wants water when the top 2 inches of soil are completely dry. Now, when you're watering it, you want to make sure you're doing a nice little slow pour over top of the soil, allowing the water to slowly trickle down past all the roots and soil, so that the soil and the roots have time to absorb that water and take it in. As that water comes down and trickles out of the drainage hole and into the base tray, that's when you stop watering it. That is enough water because you know definitely that water reached all of the roots. When you underwater your plants, that's because the water doesn't get to the bottom of the base of your pot where most of your roots probably are. I know some of you are tentative, kind of worried that you're gonna overwater your plant. Well, a lot of you are underwatering your plants, and that's why you're seeing those brown spots. Brown spots are caused by underwatering, but could also be because of lack of light, while yellowing of leaves is caused by overwatering. Third, maintenance. Maintenance is one of those things that most people kind of tend to forget. Some people look at my photos and they go, how are your leaves so shiny? Well, that's because I try to stay on top of wiping them down. What I use, dish soap, water. Wiping the leaves down gives you that natural shine, the natural leaf shine that the plant actually has. A lot of dust can collect when you're not watching, and your leaves can become dull. If they look dull, give them a nice little wipe down. Taking off that layer of dust allows for that leaf to get more exposure actually to light. So wiping down your leaves helps not only give it more light, but also staying in there, that maintenance allows you to keep an eye on critters, bugs. So if you're in there, you're looking at the leaves, whispering a little sweet nothings to your fiddle leaf fig, you'll have the time to actually notice when you might have an infection, some sort of bug takeover. So getting in there, talking to your plant just to check in on it is a good thing to do because it allows you to be aware of bugs and things of that nature. 4, rotation. You want to make sure you're rotating your plant, not only just so you can show off every little part of it, but so that it can encourage more growth. Sometimes when you have from what I've seen in my plants, whenever a fiddle leaf fig branch is closer to the window, that's the branch that produces new leaves. So the leaves that are further back into the space that aren't getting as much light, you want to make sure you rotate them so that they can also produce new leaves at the same pace as the other branches of your fiddle leaf fig, so it can create some sort of balance so that your fiddle leaf fig isn't leaning off to one side. Frank actually has that same sort of off balance, so what I like to do is to help him grow straight. So I grab some hanging wire and some staples and I tie him up and I pull him so that he can be standing up strong and sturdy. Next, fertilization. You want to make sure you're fertilizing your plants come spring and summer. Some of you might be sitting there thinking, well, I've had my fiddle leaf fig for 2 years now, a year now, haven't seen one single new leaf. Well, it's more than likely because you haven't been fertilizing it. You want to make sure your plant is getting all of its nutrients back that it has lost from all of the watering you've been doing for the last year, last 2 years, last 3 years. If you haven't been fertilizing your plant, you are not allowing it to really get the nutrients it needs. So you might ask, how often do I fertilize? Well, it all depends on the type of fertilizer you have. Some you can fertilize your plant every other watering, which for me would be every 2 weeks. But some fertilizers are every 2 months, every 3 months. Depending on the type of fertilizer you have, that's the amount of times you're gonna wanna fertilize your plants, but you're definitely gonna want to fertilize your plant spring and summer. Next, we're gonna talk about repotting your plant. How do you know it's time to repot the plant? It's when you lift the plant up and out of those drainage holes, you see roots. Now, if you see roots coming out of the drainage hole, you definitely want to take that plant and place it in a new pot, give it a new home. Now, repotting the plant allows it to grow larger and it helps so that you don't end up with root rot. So come spring, come summer, that's when you want to repot that plant. You pull it out, you break up all that soil in those roots, you stick it in fresh, new soil, a new pot. Make sure that pot is only 2 inches larger in diameter than the previous pot, the previous home it was in, and stick it in there and you'll be fine. So that's it. I mean, I could tell you should name your plants, but I'm sure all of you have already started naming your plants. I say that a lot, right? Name your plants. This is Treeses. You already know everyone else. So name your plants. Why? Well, it doesn't make you a crazy person. It makes you care more about the individual plant. So if you name it, just like you name your pet, you tend to want to make sure that Treeses or Frank or whomever stays alive and healthy. So maybe this information will give you a bit more understanding, a bit more courage to go out there and purchase a fiddle leaf fig or to take care of the ones you have now. I hope this helps. Have fun.